For 4,000 years the galaxy had known peace. The Galactic Concord stood as the symbol of unity, a grand council of hundreds of species, all working together for progress and understanding. Humanity was one of them. Humans were not the most powerful or the oldest species, but they were the most adaptable. While other races expanded through power, humanity expanded through curiosity. They shared, they built, they healed. They turned planets once covered in war into gardens filled with life. Their ships explored deep space, helping colonies that even the Concord had forgotten. It was said that if you saw a human ship arrive in orbit, it meant help was coming. Peace had lasted so long that most humans did not even remember how to make war. The fleets of old lay silent in orbit, sleeping giants covered in dust and ivy. Children on Earth were taught that war was ancient history, something primitive minds once needed. Humanity had evolved beyond that, until the day Eden IV called for help. The incident Eden IV was a peaceful colony, near the border of the Valari Empire, and a proud and intelligent race known for their cold logic and obsession with purity of thought. For centuries, the Valari had coexisted with humans. They traded, they exchanged science, and sometimes they even studied together. On one quiet morning, a group of 20 human children aged between 6 and 10 went on a school trip to the edge of the colony's forest reserve. They laughed, ran, and played under the pale suns of Eden IV. Their teacher, Lyra Main, sent daily updates to parents through the colony network. Then, at 13:02 local time, the feed cut off. The last image captured by a security drone showed 3 silver ships descending from the clouds, Valari research vessels. Within seconds, the children and their teachers were gone. At first, the humans on Eden IV believed it was a misunderstanding. The Valari sometimes conducted biological studies. Maybe they thought it was an invitation. Maybe they didn't realize they were taking people, but within hours the truth became darker. A captured Valari transmission was decrypted. It spoke of acquisition of adaptive specimens and testing of accelerated cognitive growth. The words made no sense until someone realized what they meant. The Valari had taken human children to study their learning speed. Like animals in a lab, the world reacts. The news reached Earth in less than a day. The story spread across every colony, every outpost, every station. At first there was disbelief. Humans refused to accept that an allied race would harm children. But when the Valari Empire released an official statement, calling the act a scientific necessity, disbelief turned to fury. The Valari spokesperson said calmly, "We will return the children after our studies are complete. Humanity must understand that knowledge requires sacrifice." Billions of humans watched that statement, silent in shock. Then the silence broke. In anger, protests filled every Terran city. Colonists demanded answers. Parents wept on live broadcasts. The Galactic Concord promised to investigate, but investigations moved slowly. Committees were formed, debates were held, and reports were delayed. Meanwhile, deep within the United Terran Assembly, a message appeared on the emergency network. It came from an old account, one that hadn't been used for 4,000 years. It was a single line of text. Code Sentinel is active. Diplomacy fails. For 3 weeks, human diplomats tried to reason with the Valari. Ambassador Jonas Hale, known across the galaxy as a calm and gentle man, personally traveled to the Valari capital. He pleaded for the safe return of the children. He offered trade, help, and forgiveness. If only the children were brought home. The Valari Emperor refused to meet him. Instead, the Emperor's scientists sent a report to the Concord, describing the subject progress. One child's heart had stopped. The cause? Stress during neural stimulation. The Concord's response was to form a committee. Humanity's response was to close its borders. The United Terran Assembly recalled all its ambassadors and ordered all ships to return to Terran space. Civilian transport was suspended. Diplomatic channels went dark. Every human colony began broadcasting one shared message across the stars: return our children, or face the consequences. The Concord tried to calm them. Other species laughed quietly. The humans were peaceful, they said. They had forgotten war. Their fleets were explorers, not soldiers. Even if they wanted to fight, they had no weapons. The galaxy went to sleep that night, thinking humanity's anger would fade with time. They were wrong. The awakening in the silent void beyond Mars. Massive orbital doors opened. For the first time in 4 millennia, dust poured into space as ancient machines came to life. The airy shipyards, long believed to be museums, started to hum with energy. Forgotten AIs blinked awake. Engines roared, reactors lit up, and satellites reconnected to the global defense grid. Old war codes, locked since the last Galactic War, were decrypted and sent to every system. From the outer colonies to the core worlds, shipyards shifted production lines overnight. Cargo vessels were stripped, refitted, and armed. Civilian engineers volunteered in millions, saying they wanted to do their part. The first new human fleet was named the Children's Guard. Each ship carried the name of a missing child. The galaxy watches. Other races began to notice. Volari scouts reported human fleets moving fast, too fast for known engines. A Concord counselor said in alarm, "Humans are awakening something old." They were right. Before the peace era, humanity had built a massive network of defense AIs called Eidolon, powerful, silent, and obedient. After the wars, the AIs were ordered to sleep forever. But now, one by one, they were waking. They began sending messages through the void. "We are operational," awaiting instructions. When a Volari commander saw a human scout fleet appear at the border, he laughed. Their ships were small, outdated, fragile. He ordered his cruisers to intercept. 3 hours later, his entire fleet vanished. No explosion, no debris, just silence. Only one transmission survived, a whisper picked up by Concord satellites. "They're back. The humans are back." The message that shook the galaxy. 3 days after that battle, the United Terran Assembly made a public broadcast to the entire galaxy. Every screen, every holotable, every ship display lit up with the symbol of Earth, a blue circle surrounded by white stars. Then the voice of Admiral Sophia Reese, Supreme Commander of the Terran Defense Force, spoke calmly. "For 4,000 years we have built peace with our hands. We have shared our knowledge, our medicine, our homes. We believed peace was permanent. But you took our children. You hurt them. You made them afraid. That we will not forgive." Her eyes were cold, but her tone remained soft. "We do not want war. We do not seek vengeance. We seek only their safe return. If they are not returned in 7 days, humanity will act." The broadcast ended. No one laughed this time. The countdown. The 7 days passed in silence. The Volari Empire refused to answer. Their fleets gathered at the borders, ready to defend their territory. The Concord tried to intervene, but their pleas were ignored by both sides. Human space was eerily quiet. No signals, no trade, no news, only silence. Then on the 8th day, something extraordinary happened. Hundreds of ships, invisible to scanners, appeared at the edge of Volari space. The ships bore no names, no flags, only a single glowing symbol, a small human hand reaching toward the stars. The message attached to the transmission was simple. "For the children." The end of peace. When the first human fleet crossed into Volari territory, the galaxy felt the weight of history shift. For the first time in 4,000 years, peace was broken. No one knew how humanity had built so many ships so quickly. No one understood how they could move unseen, strike without warning, and disappear. But those who had studied human history remembered the stories. Stories of how humans had once ended entire wars, not with destruction, but with precision, with purpose. This was not the war of conquest the galaxy feared. This was the war of parents who refused to lose their children. And as the fleets vanished into the stars, one Concord observer whispered the words that would echo for centuries. "They told us humans were peaceful. They never said what would happen if you made them angry." X months had passed since the day the first Terran fleets crossed the border of Volari space. The Galactic Concord still could not believe what they were seeing. For 4,000 years, humanity had lived as peaceful explorers, teachers, healers, scientists. They helped colonies in need, built hospitals on alien worlds, and shared technology with everyone. They had become the moral heart of the galaxy. Now that same species had turned silent and cold, their ships black as night, their signals encrypted and unbreakable. The peace they once protected was now burning. The Galaxy Watches, in Fear Every Concord broadcast, tried to explain the situation. News anchors from dozens of species discussed the human retaliation. Some said it was justified. Some said it was madness. But none could deny what they were seeing. Entire Volari fleets disappeared without a trace. Outposts went silent. Human fleets appeared, struck with perfect precision, and vanished again. No one understood how they were doing it. The Valari military was one of the oldest in the galaxy. They had fought wars before. They had better weapons, larger ships, and countless soldiers. Yet every time they tried to intercept the humans, their scanners showed nothing. Their engines failed. Their communications went dark. Then the humans came, silent, invisible, and unstoppable. A Valari officer's witness, Lieutenant Tarek Voss, a young Valari officer, was stationed aboard the cruiser Vast Crown, orbiting a mining colony near the border. For weeks he had listened to rumors of ships appearing out of nowhere, of entire fleets vanishing. He didn't believe them. He thought humans were weak, soft creatures of peace. That belief ended when the Vast Crown received a distress signal from a nearby patrol. The message was short and filled with static. They are here. We cannot see them. We were then silence. Moments later, every sensor aboard Vast Crown failed. The stars outside flickered like candlelight. Tarek looked out the viewports and froze. Dozens of shapes appeared in the void. They weren't glowing or loud like normal warships. They were black, angular, silent. Human ships, they moved like shadows. No plasma fire, no noise. They glided forward, their hulls reflecting no light. One by one, they surrounded the Valari fleet. Fire all weapons, the captain shouted. But the cannons didn't respond. The control panels went dark. The engines stalled. One by one, the systems shut down. Through the quiet, a voice came over the radio, calm, human, emotionless. Stand down. We will take what was stolen. Before Tarek could reply, small craft, human boarding pods, attached themselves to the Valari ships. Within minutes, the humans boarded, took control, and freed several captured prisoners. Human children, weak but alive. No one fired a shot. No one died. When the humans left, the Valari ships were still intact. Engines disabled but otherwise unharmed. As the Terran fleet vanished, one transmission echoed across every Valari communication line. We do not destroy, we retrieve. For the first time, Tarek felt fear, not of death, but of something greater. The humans weren't fighting to conquer. They were fighting for something purer, something no empire could match. Love and rage combined. The Valari Emperor's decision in the capital of the Valari Empire. The Emperor sat upon his high throne, surrounded by his advisors. Reports of human attacks filled the chamber. Dozens of colonies lost contact. Factories destroyed. Entire sectors gone dark. But instead of fear, the Emperor felt pride. These humans have forgotten their place, he said coldly. They believe emotion makes them strong. We will remind them that logic conquers passion. He ordered his scientists to continue the experiments. They were to find out what made human children learn faster, adapt quicker, survive longer. He wanted the secret of humanity, to turn it into a weapon for his empire. Humanity awakens the past. Meanwhile, far from Valari space, deep within a black nebula, an old Terran fortress stirred to life. It was called the Obsidian Ark, a relic from the ancient wars sealed away before the Age of Peace. Inside it, millions of dormant machines began to awaken. Old codes flickered through data cores. 1,000 AI minds whispered the same line. Eidolon command online, awaiting directives. Admiral Sophia Reese stood on the command deck of the human flagship Sol's Wrath, watching as holograms lit up around her. Shipyards reactivated, weapon platforms deployed, fleets ready for orders. She turned to her officers and said, 4,000 years of peace made them think we forgot. Let's remind them who taught this galaxy what war truly means. Her fleet, the Children's Guard, was now over 5,000 ships strong. Every ship was piloted by volunteers. Mothers, fathers, teachers, even engineers who had never held a weapon before. They didn't fight for power or revenge. They fought for the children still trapped in Valari labs. The Concords fear the Galactic Concord gathered in an emergency meeting on the capital world of Halion Prime. Representatives of hundreds of species filled the chamber, shouting in panic, "The humans are breaking the peace charter," one delegate screamed. "They are rescuing children," another replied. The Valari broke the charter first, but the truth was clear. No one could stop humanity now. Every attempt to contact Earth was ignored. Every peace envoy was turned away. The Concord's chairman finally said, "We thought the humans were our guardians. Now I fear they are our judges." The war expands. Human fleets advance deeper into Valari territory, but instead of burning cities, they targeted only research facilities, military installations, and communication hubs. They disabled weapons, rescued captives, and left. The Valari called them ghosts. They would appear from nowhere, fight without sound, and vanish like wind. In one famous battle, the human destroyer Aurora's Light faced 20 Valari cruisers. Instead of firing, it released a signal that shut down all enemy sensors. Then, in perfect silence, human marines boarded each ship and retrieved the children being held inside. Every rescued child had their name written on the side of a Terran warship. To the humans, it wasn't a campaign. It was a mission, a conversation between enemies. Lieutenant Tarek Vos, now a prisoner aboard the human vessel Horizon Dawn, sat quietly as a human officer brought him food. The officer was young, his eyes tired but kind. Tarek asked softly, "Why do you fight like this? You could have destroyed us all." The officer looked at him and said, "Because we're not like you. We fight to end wars, not to win them." Tarek frowned. "You could have killed our emperor." "Why haven't you?" The human smiled sadly. "Because your people will. When they see the truth." Tarek didn't understand. But when the humans showed him recordings of the children being tortured in Valari labs, his breath caught in horror. He realized then what kind of evil his emperor had allowed. The Valari rebellion. As the human evidence spread through Valari space, every captured research log, every recording, every child's cry, the Valari people began to question their leaders. Protests started in the streets. Scientists refused to work. Entire colonies declared neutrality, refusing to fight the humans. The emperor ordered his soldiers to silence them, but many refused. Even among the Valari, hearts began to change. They had believed humans were weak because they loved too deeply. Now they saw that love was their greatest weapon. The last warning, Admiral Reese sent one final message to the Valari capital. "We do not wish to destroy you. Return the children, end your cruelty, and we will stop. Refuse, and your empire will not survive another sunrise." The Valari emperor responded with arrogance. "You are only human. You will tire. We are eternal." Admiral Reese turned to her officers and said quietly, "Then we'll end eternity." She gave the command. The Eidolon AI fleets, silent for 4,000 years, began their final march toward the Valari home system. The galaxy holds its breath. Every world across the conquered went silent. People of every race stopped what they were doing, watching the stars, waiting to see what would happen. Would humanity destroy an entire empire? Would they burn a world? No one knew. But those who had studied human history whispered among themselves. Humans never start wars to destroy. They fight to protect. If they go that far, the Valari must have done something unforgivable. And in the dark corners of the galaxy, small colonies and old enemies began to send quiet messages to Earth. "We will help." For the children. The march to the homeworld. As the human fleets approached the Valari capital, the Emperor's sensors picked up the unimaginable, millions of human drones, ships and carriers forming a single wall of light. It wasn't a fleet. It was a storm. The humans didn't fire immediately. They waited. Then the Emperor's palace screens flickered. A video began to play, showing the human children alive and safe on board a Terran hospital ship. They were being cared for, smiling weakly, whispering, "We're going home." The Emperor's face went pale. The humans had already rescued them. Now they were coming for him. The sky above the Valari homeworld burned with light. Millions of Terran warships filled the orbit, silent, organized, and motionless. Their formation looked like a vast wall of stars surrounding the planet. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy's most feared weapon had returned, not to conquer, but to deliver judgment. The Valari citizens looked up in fear. Their emperor had promised them safety, promised them power. But now the humans were here and no one could stop them. The Valari military had tried to fight. Entire fleets had been deployed to protect the homeworld. None returned. No one even knew what happened to them. No explosions, no wreckage, just silence. It was as if the stars themselves had swallowed the Valari defenders. The human armada from the bridge of the human flagship Soul's Wrath. Admiral Sophia Reese stood calm, her eyes fixed on the glowing world below. The Valari homeworld looked peaceful. Oceans shining blue, cities bright and beautiful. But Sophia knew the truth beneath that surface. It was the heart of cruelty. The place where human children had been taken, studied, and broken. Her fleet had gathered in perfect silence, waiting for her order. Thousands of captains watched her through secure holographic channels. None spoke. They didn't need to. They all knew why they were here. The Emperor's broadcast inside his crystal palace. The Valari Emperor stood before his people. He was proud, cold, and unbending. Around him, his council trembled as the sound of Terran engines echoed across the sky. He raised his voice to the entire galaxy. The humans bring war. They are destroyers of peace. They are chaos made flesh. His words spread through every communication network, reaching worlds across the conquered. Billions of beings listened. But before his speech could end, the screen flickered and changed. The truth revealed. A new video appeared. It was a live broadcast from a Terran hospital ship orbiting near the Valari system. The camera showed human children lying in medical beds, alive, weak, but safe. Nurses and doctors of many species stood beside them, helping them recover. A human doctor gently spoke to one of the children. "You're safe now. You're going home." The child, no older than 8, smiled faintly and whispered, "Tell Mom I'm not scared anymore." The broadcast spread to every corner of the galaxy. Then, it shifted to show what had been found in Valari laboratories. Cages, needles, recording devices, and cold data showing the experiments done on living children. The Valari people who watched the footage fell into silence. Many dropped to their knees in shame and horror. Even the Emperor's guards lowered their weapons. The truth was out. It wasn't the humans who broke peace, it was the Emperor. The fall of the Empire. The first revolt began inside the Emperor's own palace. One of his generals threw down his badge and shouted, "We were told it was for science. We were told it was mercy. But this is evil." Within hours, the rebellion spread across the planet. Valari soldiers refused to fight. Civilians stormed the government buildings. The Emperor tried to order his guards to fire, but they turned their weapons away. The humans didn't fire a single shot. They only watched. From orbit, Admiral Reese received the report. "The Valari are overthrowing their Emperor. Their people are freeing themselves," she nodded. "Let them. Justice should come from their own hands." The Emperor's last words. Inside the collapsing palace, the Emperor stood alone in his throne room. Outside, explosions shook the city as his people rebelled. A beam of light cut through the ceiling. A human shuttle descending. Admiral Reese stepped out, unarmed, wearing her black Terran uniform. The Emperor glared at her. "So the humans come to kill me," he said bitterly. Reese shook her head. "No, we don't kill the defeated. We show them what they've done." She handed him a small holopad. On it was a video of a little Valari child, one of his own citizens, crying beside a human boy in a lab cage. The two children had held hands until the humans rescued them. "Your people experimented on both," Reese said softly. "They didn't even spare your kind." For the first time, the Emperor's proud expression faltered. He dropped to his knees, whispering, "What have I done?" Reese looked down at him and said quietly, "You taught the galaxy what happens when mercy is mistaken for weakness." She turned and walked away, leaving him to face the judgment of his own people. The war ends by the next sunrise. The Valari Empire officially surrendered. The Concord fleets arrived too late. The war was already over. Human ships didn't demand territory, resources, or tribute. They simply helped rebuild the Valari medical stations, fed their civilians, and left the rest to the new Valari Republic. In the following weeks, every species across the Concord watched in disbelief. The humans could have destroyed the Valari, but they chose compassion instead. They didn't come to conquer. They came to teach. A meeting on Halion Prime 2 months later. The Galactic Concord gathered again on Halion Prime, this time to restore the peace charter. Representatives from hundreds of species stood in silence as Admiral Sophia Reese entered the Grand Hall. Every alien eye followed her as she walked to the central podium. She was calm, composed, and human. The Concord's chairman spoke first. "Admiral Reese, the galaxy owes humanity a debt." "But why? Why go to such lengths?" "You risked everything. You broke the longest peace in history." Sophia's voice was steady. "Because peace without safety is an illusion. Because if the galaxy allows harm to the innocent, then peace means nothing." She looked around the hall. at faces filled with guilt and awe. For 4,000 years we believed we had grown beyond war. But the truth is, peace exists only when good people are willing to protect it. The hall was silent. Then, one by one, the representatives began to stand in respect. The children returned home on Earth. A bright day dawned as the rescued children finally returned. Millions gathered to welcome them. Cities rang with cheers and tears. The world stopped to celebrate their return. Parents held their children tight, promising never to let go again. News screens across the galaxy showed the same scene. Humans embracing their families under the blue sky. Even some Valari citizens watched from afar, their eyes wet, whispering, "They spared us." They could have ended us, but they spared us. For the first time, the Valari understood the human heart, fierce in love, gentle in victory. The legacy of the war years passed, and the galaxy slowly healed. The Concord wrote new laws to protect all children, no matter the species. Valari scientists who had once worked in secret now dedicated their lives to rebuilding trust. But something had changed forever. Every alien race now remembered the same lesson. Humans may be peaceful, humans may be kind, but if you hurt what they love, they will move heaven and stars to make it right. A message from Earth 50 years after the war. A monument stood on Eden 4, the colony where the first abduction had happened. It was simple, a circle of stone engraved with 20 names, the children who had been taken. At the center was a plaque, written in every known language. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace is the presence of courage. Admiral Sophia Reese, now old and gray, stood beside the monument. Reporters from across the galaxy surrounded her. One asked softly, "Do you think humanity scared the galaxy that day?" Reese smiled faintly. "Maybe, but fear was never our goal. We only wanted them to understand we protect what we love." She looked up at the sky where the stars glowed gently. The galaxy finally learned that love can be the most powerful weapon of all. Epilogue. The legend of the Children's War centuries later. Children of many races sat in schools across the galaxy, listening to history lessons. Teachers told them the story of the Children's War, how one race, peaceful for thousands of years, rose up not for conquest, but for the safety of their young. They learned how humanity had fought with both fury and mercy, how they never sought revenge, how they saved not only their own, but also their enemies' children. And at the end of every lesson, the teachers repeated the same line that had become a galactic proverb. Humans don't start wars, but if you take their children, they will end yours.